Well, my friends, it seems as if the gauntlet has been thrown down. Famous YouTuber Digibro has claimed a multitude of times that Ergo Proxy is a show he doesn't like, and doesn't understand why other people like it, so much so that he challenged people to analyze it themselves and discuss what's so awesome about it.
Every time, I have this old Ergo Proxy review where I just kind of said, I don't get it. I don't understand this show. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dumb and lame.
Being that Ergo Proxy is one of my favorite things ever, I've decided to take it upon myself to start this video series on why I love Ergo Proxy so much, and what I find so great about it. Not just for him, but really for anyone who has a hard time understanding what myself and many others find so good about it. Furthermore, I'm going to attempt to debunk the notion that Ergo Proxy is a pretentious series. This notion is formed mostly because the show does make a lot of quotes and references to external sources. However, many people have had a hard time being able to relate those quotes to the series, so they just write the series off as trying to sound smart rather than actually having smart writing. So, I'll be taking a look at each episode and attempting to dig through all the parts I find really interesting, alongside some interesting interpretations and theories that I've come across. Also, quick spoiler warning, as I will be essentially spoiling the entire show, so I highly suggest you watch through the whole series at least once before attempting to tackle this video series. So without further ado, let's dive into the cyberpunk world of Ergo Proxy. The first episode of Ergo Proxy starts out with a poem by famous Italian Renaissance artist Michelangelo, and it really sets the stage for the entire episode and what it mostly focuses on, the concept of awakening. In English, the quote roughly translates to, "Precious is my sleep, more so my being stoned so long as ruin and dishonor prevail. To see nothing, to feel nothing is a gift. So do not wake me, I beg you, speak softly." This quote relates quite well to Vincent's own perspective. He wants to become an ideal citizen of Ramdo, and to do so, he must not showcase his own true feelings, but rather what he thinks Ramdo will accept. But the minute the awakening occurs, not only does he become Ergo Proxy, but Monad also awakens. This means that Vincent can no longer be viewed as the ideal citizen in the eyes of Ramdo, but rather a criminal. After this relevant quote, the episode starts out with a literal pulse of awakening. It is a very clever shot because it serves two purposes. It not only shows Monad Proxy waking up, that is, her own awakening, but also refers to the Proxy Destruction Program, which we will delve further into later in this series. For now, what you need to know is that Monad Proxy is awake, and that she is attempting to escape the room Daedalus has enclosed her in. The next shot showcases Vincent waking up, aka another scene of awakening. He first goes about daily activities and leaves for work. After leaving, he falls off his bike while reaching a red light. This basically means that the simple life he once knew is now reaching a complete stop. Then we see and hear Proxy 1 state, "That's when everything became clear. Everything about the malice implanted by the Creator. We cannot resist it. However, we must punish them." This is the moment in which everything changes. The malice implanted by the Creator refers to the humans, who created the proxies, now forcing these proxies to fight each other when they reach close proximity. The proxies, no matter how hard they try, cannot withstand this desire to fight. It just must be done, and it cannot be questioned. The opening shot of Ramdo gives this look of a dark, gritty city that's trying its hardest to come off as this ideal place for the people. This is noticeable with how the bright screens contrast the darkness of the city at night. Fellow citizens, now is the time to consume. Why skimp when you deserve more? That quote being on the screens as well as spoken through voice gives this sense of reassurance to the citizens. Everything is great. Now is the time to celebrate. Now is the time to enjoy. Now is the time to spend your money. You deserve the best. Through the window, we get our first shot of Raoul, new chief of the Security Bureau, alongside his entourage, Kristeva. From the opening shot alone, we can tell he's of extremely important stature. His attire makes him come off as both wealthy and powerful, and the fact that he's shocked as to what could possibly be important enough to change his schedule suggests that he's an extremely busy man. This also foreshadows Raoul being responsible in handling the now-escaped proxy. Then we transition to an infected autorave being chased by a machine, as Vincent attempts to hunt down this autorave. While doing so and defeating it, he ends up getting attacked by the machine. This leads me to believe that the machine knows Vincent is a proxy, and that's its reason for attacking, but I'll explain why I believe this theory to be true in further detail later. Our first introduction to Riel also tells quite a bit about her. The first thing we see her do is look through all the files, which just goes to show how curious she is as an individual, as well as how often she questions what goes on. The fact that she has Vincent's file on hand and that the camera zooms in on it also gives this implication that Riel is curious about Vincent to some degree, which foreshadows their own relationship. Riel then discusses in her mind her own views on Ramdo. She views it as a boring paradise that leeches off the world's destruction, which would explain her constant curiosity. She's trying to find something interesting in a place she's bored of. Her being the granddaughter of the regent allows her a means to look through this information, but even so, she still looks at more than she's allowed to. Meanwhile, Vincent reports about the attacks that he had received the other night from the machine, and Dorothy, his entourage, states that he must meet with the Intelligence Bureau, aka Riel, to report this. She also says something rather interesting. If you listen to me, you can become a citizen. I believe this says something about the people of Ramdo, that they live their lives more so as machines carrying out their tasks rather than they do people. While that happens, the cereal Vincent's eating spells the word awakening, further foreshadowing that he is to turn into a proxy soon. Riel interrupts, saying that Vincent shouldn't listen to his entourage, because they will always only be autoraves. This also gives a greater look into Riel's own relationship with her autorave, Iggy, and the fact that she almost always seems to follow her own orders instead of listening to her autorave. This is even shown earlier during the car ride where she actually orders Iggy to stop speaking instead of letting him continue. Riel also states that she believes an ideal citizen to be one that protects the people, which is a bit important for later. Vincent goes on to show Riel the infected autorave from last night, and through that, Riel establishes what the Cogito virus is. The word cogito itself is definitely a reference to the Ergo Cogito Sum, a Latin phrase meaning I think, therefore I am. This is actually quite clever, as the Cogito virus occurs when an autorave reaches self-awareness and actually starts thinking without any human control. Riel also notices the pendant that Vincent is holding onto, telling him to get rid of it. That things of Mosque aren't needed in Ramdo, which definitely shows how much Vincent has to abandon of his past identity in order to become an ideal citizen of Ramdo. Earlier, I had discussed how Riel looking at Vincent's file implied her own interest in him, and the discussion that Iggy has with her right after they leave does the same for Vincent. Iggy discusses how Vincent was staring at Riel the entire time they were there, which shows Vincent's own curiosity in Riel, and how he's drawn to her. Riel shrugs it off and looks at Vincent, describing him as a dull face that the city of Ramdo needs. Or so, that's what she thinks. Riel and Iggy arrive at an abandoned immigration bureau facility that many immigrants live in illegally. Riel, once again showing her curious and rebellious side, instead of waiting for the security bureau, heads upstairs immediately. There she encounters a frightened immigrant and his autorave, Mary, who is discovered to not be infected. Riel ends up going back outside in frustration, and as she does so, Monad Proxy sweeps down and then crashes out the window. Due to Mary being in close proximity to the proxy, she gets infected with the Cogito virus and is shown praying. Now, prayer is a sign of the Cogito virus because to believe in a greater being is to think about how you came to be, and to do so is a sign of self-awareness growing within you. Riel then encounters a machine behind her, which I believe to be the same one that was chasing Vincent, once again appearing because it sensed a proxy nearby. She shoots this machine down, and that leads Mary to become afraid of Riel as she jumps down multiple stories. The proxy that left made the same mark as the mark of blood left earlier, connecting both the murder and Riel's encounter to Monad Proxy. Afterwards, we see Vincent investigating Pino, the autorave that is owned by Raoul and his wife. Vincent claims that Pino is not infected, much to the surprise of Mrs. Creed. I believe Mrs. Creed to be, quite frankly, a snobbish and rude person. She looks down on autoraves and rejects Pino as anything other than a machine, hence her getting her own quote-unquote real child. Furthermore, she also talks down to immigrants, and believes that her social status gives her a right to do so. She even skimps on responsibility, as shown when Pino states that Mrs. Creed has yet to do any of the housekeeping. Cut to Raoul discussing with the Regent and Collective what to do, as it is revealed that the Collective are aware about the Proxy awakening. Raoul tells him that he would prefer killing the Proxy rather than capturing it, due to 41 citizens losing their lives. The Collective states that capturing the Proxy is the only option, and that production of humans can be increased if need be. This goes to show that the Collective are out for their own gain, rather than protecting their own people, which really is the opposite of what Riel said about who she believes an ideal citizen to be, one that protects the people. Back to Riel, she is able to look at the Prince of Blood and compare it with the imprint left in the wall to make the connection that an autorave isn't the one who committed the killings, but rather, it was the Proxy that attacked her. Iggy states that pressing further will go against violations, but Riel states that there were never any orders telling her she was not allowed to look around. This once again shows Riel's own curious nature, clashing against Iggy's nature being programmed to do as he's told. They decide to leave before Raoul gets there. Iggy drives Riel back home, and Riel asks that all similar cases be put in a file. Riel then proceeds to bathe in order to ponder about how much has gone on. As Iggy's driving away, Vincent's going in the opposite direction. Iggy then notices that Riel left her notes in the car, so he proceeds to turn around to bring them back to her. While that happens, Vincent goes to Riel's house, and before arriving there, you see the dead carcass of Mary, the autorave from before, who is clearly named after the Virgin Mother within the Christian religion. What I believe Mary symbolizes is this sense of peace within Ramdo. Mary is considered within Christianity to be the Queen of Peace, so by killing her off, you are essentially symbolizing the end of peace. When Riel's preparing to take her bath, she sees the word awakening fogged within the mirror, symbolizing that now the time has finally come for the proxies to arrive. Especially since just as she finds it, Ergo swoops down. Their eyes meet and both tear up as Monad arrives. Ergo and Monad both fight for a brief moment as Riel collapses, shocked at what she has just witnessed. I really believe this episode to be an excellent introduction to the series, mostly because there's so much going on within it. First-time viewers will want to know about the mysteries the series sets up, especially in regards to what these monsters are, if Riel is okay, what is going on with Ramdo, etc. But it also rewards those who view the episode multiple times, because it also manages to showcase a lot of foreshadowing in terms of what will eventually happen. I also can truly appreciate how the series manages to say a lot about the cast of characters in a very brief period of time, through its use of both dialogue and visuals. As a whole, it sells the series very well. Next time, I will delve deeper into Raoul's own character, alongside other elements of foreshadowing that I have found interesting within the show. Be sure to stick around for part 2. Also, special thanks to both the Ergo Proxy Wikia and the Grey Spectrum Annal for helping me come to my own conclusions in regards to interpreting some of the scenes within the series. If you liked this video, please give it a like, as well as subscribe for more similar content in the future. See you next time.